Hello. Last year, I did some experiments, three to be exact, in making custom game cards. And so I thought I would show you what I had done. So all of these projects I had printed by a company called The Game Crafter, which is based in Wisconsin in the United States. And I'm really happy with how it all came out. So the inspiration for these projects came from the game of Set, which is a fun game, but the cards have a terrible graphic design. So as you can see, the cards in a set deck have three colors, right? They have red, green, and purple. They have three shapes, so squiggles, oblongs, and diamonds. They have three different numbers, right? There can be one, two, or three different shapes. And they have three shadings. They can be hollow, they can be solid, or they can be striped. And they're basically every combination of these different feature values is represented. So there are 80. So there are 81 cards in total. The problem is the striped cards and the hollow shaped cards have not a very large color sample, and so it's hard for me to tell what colors they are, and the colors themselves aren't really that distinct. So under low light, with my vision, it's hard for me to identify the colors. And also, I'm not too happy about the choices of, the different shadings and the different shapes they chose. I thought that could be better as well. And also, there are people with other types of vision issues other than mine. So, for instance, people who are actually colorblind would have trouble with these even under good light. So I really wanted to make a deck of cards that I could play the game of Set with that would be more visually accessible. And I came up with this deck, which I call triples, and has the same structure as a deck of Set cards. And so you can play the game of Set with it, or if you can come up with another game that uses the same deck structure, you can do that too. So what do we have? We have three shapes, circles, triangles, and squares. We have three colors of shapes. So the shapes can be yellow, we have lightened cyan, and we have darkened magenta. We have three. We have, of course, you can have three different numbers. You can have one shape, two shapes, or three shapes, and of course three shadings. So the shadings can be solid, or with stripes, or with spots. And I like that choice of shapes better. I feel it's more natural. And the choice of shadings, the solid striped spots, I think it's more natural. But most importantly are the colors. So I chose colors that I thought were easy to distinguish, even for colorblind people. And so we have yellow, we have lightened cyan, and we have darkened magenta. So they're about as different as they can possibly be. in terms of hue, and they're also as different as I'm as different as I could make them in terms of lightness to darkness. Also, I have separate color samples on the corners, so that you don't have to rely on the color sample from the shape itself. You have a large color samples on the corners. Also, each shape color is contrasted against its own distinct contrasting background color. So yellow is contrasted against a background of blue. The lightened cyan is contrasted against darkened red, and darkened magenta is contrasted against lightened green. Not only that, but each color also comes with its own distinct ornament, so you can actually go by the ornament if you can't distinguish the colors at all. So the yellow shapes come with these little circles, these little gray circles here. The cyan shapes come with these little black and white marks here. And the magenta shapes come with these parallel white and black lines here. And all of this is my own original artwork, and so that is triples, an alternative to set. Also, since the cards are printed in sheets of 18, I had 9 extra slots left over, and I didn't want to waste them, so the deck also comes with 3 blank cards of each color. So another game that I think is pretty cool, but also quite visually inaccessible, is the game's Welcome to the Dungeon and its sequel, Welcome Back to the Dungeon. So the games have cards which with monsters on them, and a number of other, and then cards, victory point cards. And then it also has cards that represent an adventurer and their equipment. And so these equipment cards are have a number of problems with visual accessibility. One is that the print can be quite small. I cannot read these except maybe under the best light. In addition to that, the equipment tiles are color coded, so you're supposed to be able to tell which equipment cards go with which adventurer based on their color, but the colors are really not that distinct. So for instance, here it's very hard, if these are all mixed up, it would be very hard for me to sort them to figure out which one go with the princess and which ones go with the necromancer. In addition, it's not a visual issue, but it's just kind of annoying to have 2 different sizes of cards when you could have something simpler, and just have one size of card. It's more convenient to store. It's more convenient to handle. So I made a number of changes to these cards, and the first one is that I made them the same size as the other cards. So now I can store them as just an ordinary deck of cards. I don't have a bunch of different sizes of things to deal with. But also, I made a number of changes for visual accessibility as well. So one, obviously, I blew them up because I'm using, instead of small tiles now, I'm using normal size game cards. This might not be obvious, but I darkened all of the the background around the text, so it stands out a little better and lightened the text itself. And also, I put a larger version of the text on the other side of the cards, so this is even easier to see for me. Even in low light, I can read this pretty well. And not only did I put the text, but I also put see, this is the rogue. I put the rogue on there so I don't have to use their fuzzy, indistinct colors to tell which equipment cards go with which adventurer card, because it's printed on the card. And then I just made a white border side on the other one, just so that I would have something to put on the other side, and so that I could just have the satisfaction of knowing which side was which. I made them a little different. And the problem I had with this game had nothing to do with visual accessibility. It's just that it comes in just purely PDF format, and with card images that you're supposed to print out on paper and cut out with scissors. And I thought that was kind of annoying. I wanted to play with real game cards. So again, with permission from, I believe his name is Martin Neurucker. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He is the creator of this game, and he gave me permission to have my own cards professionally printed. And so you can see, here they are. This is a game where you kind of randomly create a dungeon that maybe you could play a dungeon crawler kind of exploration later on in. Yeah, and like with the previous game I talked about, this is not original artwork. It's not even modified really. I just took the images from the PDF file. I added some extra border so that they would fill out the proper size for standard game cards, and that's it. And so that is Ex Umbra from Shark Bomb Studios. Welcome to the dungeon, and welcome back to the dungeon. And Triples, an alternative to Set. And I'm really happy with how everything came out. Yeah, I mean, it's not as elegant as it could be if a professional designer did it, but I feel like it's much more visually accessible, and it's not totally inelegant, I don't think. I'm quite proud of it. And so those are my custom game cards.